The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round three. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Otani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Otani did this, Otani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sport.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to be back with you after the Labor Day weekend. I'm Craig Mish. Thanks for being part of our show here every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. Week one of the NFL, it's almost here. Coming up Thursday night, we'll get a preview with Jacob Camenker of Sporting News. And, of course, the NFL plays Friday night in Brazil and Sunday. Not to mention, we've got week two of college football. What an exciting first week we got in those single games. Last night, Saturday night, Sunday, just some insane games and different finishes. We're going to dive into that as well. Guest contributor, of course, from Legal Sports Report, will dive into the very latest of the landscape of college football, as we're going to tell you about a brand new book that you can purchase over on Amazon. Interesting discussion we'll have a little bit later in the show. But we will start off with the National Football League and big news today out of San Francisco, as it looks like Trent Williams, their great tackle, is about to sign a mega contract with the 49ers. He's been holding out for the entire portion of their training camp and also their preseason. But on social media, his brother released a photo of Williams on a plane to San Francisco, and then ESPN reporting that they are closing in on a deal. So, needless to say, we'll follow this for you. But if Williams does sign, it would put his eligibility to play on Monday Night Football in some security, meaning that there is some doubt because, again, he hasn't practiced or played, but at least according to the reports that we're seeing, there is at least a chance he could play against the New York Jets on one of those Monday Night Football games that are coming up in less than a week from now. So that's the very latest. If you drafted in fantasy football, worried about Trent Williams blocking for Christian McCaffrey, I don't think you have to worry about that going into the season. Now, this is a story that's going to affect everyone moving forward as it pertains to watching college football, pro football, basketball, and all sports if this continues, because a lot of people across the country, by the way, including myself, are subscribers to DirecTV. And as of right now, the Walt Disney Company have pulled themselves from DirecTV's content, and therefore it's a blank screen at the moment, just basically saying, thank you for your patience. We were unable to come to an agreement with the Walt Disney Company. And the quote basically saying is that the Disney Company is refusing any accountability to consumers, distribution partners, and now American judicial system. This is from DirecTV, by the way. Disney is in the business of creating alternate realities, but this is the real world. Wow. Where we believe you earn your way and must answer for your own actions. They want to continue to chase maximum profits and dominant control of the expensive consumers, making it hard for them to select the shows and sports they want at a reasonable price. That's from DirecTV, but it doesn't stop there. ESPN fighting back, saying DirecTV chose to deny millions of subscribers access to our content just as we head into the final week of the U.S. Open and gear up for college football and the NFL season. While we're open to offering DirecTV flexibility in terms which we've extended to other distributors, we will not enter in an agreement that undervalues our portfolio. And it goes on and on and on. What's the bottom line? The bottom line is a lot of you are not going to be able to watch ESPN if you have DirecTV at the moment. They have not come to an agreement. This is going on about 48 hours now. The only good news is the ABC, if they're owned and operated by your local affiliate, those will still be on the air. But if they're owned by the Disney company, then you're going to see that on your screen. Now, fortunately, here in South Florida, I was able to watch USC LSU because my local affiliate is owned and operated by a local company. But if it's owned by the Disney company, it's out. And what's going to happen here, folks? I hate to say it, DirecTV, a lot of people are going to move. A lot of people are going to move to that, to YouTube TV if they haven't already. And yeah, this is not good news for them. All right, let's get to some other news and notes from college football. The Mountain West and Pac-12 conferences, no agreement before Sunday's deadline to extend their football scheduling beyond the 2024 season. So no deal for the Mountain West and Pac-12. The Pac-12 has 2 teams. Mountain West has several. Trying to get this figured out, but they haven't. And no word in the future if they're going to be able to do this. But needless to say, they're trying to fix a conference that is broken in the Pac-12. Okay, now in college football, as I mentioned over the weekend, some insane finishes, to say the least. One of the games that went right down to the wire was that game between USC and LSU. USC, as the polls come out, have made a big jump. They're now, of course, moving into range of a potential playoff spot if they continue to win. Long way away from that. But they beat LSU 27-20. We'll hear from Brian Kelly later in the show. Georgia-Clemson, this game was just awful. No score for like a long time in this one until like the half. But Georgia beat Clemson 34-3. We thought that Georgia's defense was the best in the country. They definitely were. And then eventually Clemson's defense got tired and Georgia rolled them 34-3. Notre Dame went on the road. They were trailing late in this one, came back to win, and they beat Texas A&M, the final in that one, 23-13 over the Aggies. 107,000 people showed up for that game, but it was not meant to be. And then it is painful for me to have to tell you that the Gators just got crushed by the University of Miami on Saturday. That was really hard to watch as a Gators fan at home. You don't often see Florida lose that badly to anyone. And I think most people feel like I'm a Hurricanes fan because I live in South Florida, but I graduated from the University of Florida, folks. I'm a Gator. My Gators got killed. All right, let's get to the National Football League. As we mentioned, Trent Williams is back with the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is back on the practice field. He had a strained calf, didn't play in the preseason, but it looks like he is full go and will play for the 49ers on Monday night. I don't know if you caught this over the weekend. Speaking of the Gators, their former player, Ricky Pearsall, he's a wide receiver on their team. He was shot in the chest near San Francisco's Union Square on Saturday afternoon after a 17-year-old male attempted to rob him. He's been released from the hospital, but naturally not going to play. Just wish him the best of health for the time being. Also, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this was a surprise, was placed on the non-football illness list by the Kansas City Chiefs. He has recently detailed some battles with PTSD, and the Chiefs did sign Samaje Perine to back up Isaiah Pacheco. So Perine will probably be the backup moving forward there. And also nothing on Jamar Chase. The Cincinnati Bengals get ready to play against New England Patriots on Sunday. Probably I think they're one, if I'm not mistaken, Frank, you'll correct me, I think they are the biggest favorite in the NFL this weekend. So may not need Chase for this week, but they're going to have him moving forward, I would say. All right, the White Sox just keep losing. Every record going to be broken for futility in Major League Baseball. 11 games in a row now, 13-3. They lost to the Orioles, and Chris Flexen has now lost a record 20 straight games while starting for the Chicago White Sox. Their pace is 36-126, would be the second most defeats behind the 1899 Cleveland Spiders. And no one that is watching was around for that season. Willy Adames has homered in 5 straight games, chasing history. Still needs a couple of more to make it interesting, but he has homered in 5 straight. Shohei Ohtani is chasing 50-50, and folks, it looks like this is going to happen. He's got 44 home runs, 46 stolen bases, And so stolen bases just seems academic at this point. Can Ohtani hit 6 home runs in the rest of September? I guess we'll wait to see. I mean, this is a huge history coming potentially for him. Also, Fernando Tatis has been activated. He's back for the Padres. U.S. Open delayed due to an issue with a line calling system on Monday. The tournament's electric line calling system, it just stopped working in a building because of a fire alarm. How about that? Yannick Sinner took down Tommy Paul in straight sets. He's going to play Medvedev in the quarterfinals. Also, 3-time defending U.S. Open men's double champions Rahm and Salisbury were eliminated in the third round by 13th seed Nathaniel Lemons and Jackson Withrow on Monday. And also today at Arthur Ashe Stadium, Taylor Fritz, Alexander Zverev. Also, Zheng will take on Sabalenka. Those are some of the matches there. Over in the WNBA, Phoenix Mercury guard Natasha Cloud is going to serve a 1-game suspension after reaching the league's technical foul limit. She reached her 7th technical foul on Sunday. Going to have to take a 1-game suspension. Indiana Fever, red hot. Caitlin Clark, 28 points, 12 assists, 100-93 the final as they keep rolling in the WNBA. The Clippers, they have center Ivica Zubac. He's agreed to a 3-year, $58.6 million contract extension. And also Indiana Pacers guard TJ McConnell has agreed to a 4-year, $45 million contract extension through the 28-29 season. Did you catch all that? Hope so, because we're out of time. We'll be right back next to preview the Thursday night and Friday night games of the NFL. Jacob Camenker of Sporting News. Don't go away.
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here, warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah, we'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Early on the turn, right hand from my boy, double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Let's preview Thursday night and Friday night football with Jacob Camenker from Sporting News. Really good matchups, by the way. When you see 3-point spreads, you know you're in for a good game. We'll start off with the Ravens and Chiefs as we bring in Jacob. And Jacob, we have finally gotten here, right? It took a long time. And, NFL preseason kind of slugged along here a little bit. We had cut day down, some pretty big stories, I thought, come from that. But now it all gets to go on the field on Thursday night. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. I am very glad that we're just a couple days away from football. man, it's going to be an exciting first week. So many standalone games, a rare Friday night game. And like you said, there are some seriously great looking matchups on this schedule. So we're going to learn a lot about these teams, but hey, I think we've got some inklings of how these games are going to go out of the chute.
Yeah, college and pro football. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday this week. If football's your thing, you'll be very happy. Okay, so let's get into it. Chiefs play the Ravens. We've seen this matchup before many times. And, generally speaking, the Chiefs have owned the series for the most part. What I find interesting, Jacob, here is the total for a Thursday night game. It's kind of irrelevant to me, the fact that the Chiefs are playing in this thing. I know they scored points. They did not, though, last year as much as we thought. They've had plenty of time to rest. So this is not your average Thursday game where there's a layoff and teams come out sluggish and they run the ball. But with the way the Chiefs defense played last year and the way the Ravens played last year, I was a little surprised to see it this high. Maybe I'll be wrong here, but how do you see the outcome of this one?
Yeah, I think you're right that total seems a little high to me, just because both these teams have very strong defenses, and I think the continuity on Kansas City's side of the ball is going to help them, and we've seen them kind of, I don't want to say own Lamar Jackson or anything, but they have the ability to slow him down pretty well. So I think that the Chiefs, even as 3-point favorites, I like them in this spot. I think you're looking at this team. They have Patrick Mahomes, and they should be better on offense than they were last year. Their receivers just played so poorly for most of last year, whether it was dropping balls or just making simple mistakes. I think they're going to be better with having Xavier Worthy there and Rashee Rice having a full year of experience under his belt. And Travis Kelce had a whole offseason to heal up a bit and kind of gear up for this whole thing. And maybe it'll be a little less crazy than last year when he was kind of just starting to date Taylor Swift. But I like their chances of just being able to move the ball a little more consistently on this Ravens defense. And I just look at Steve Spagnuolo's defense and I say to myself, man, I think they're going to be able to slow down Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense. And, Derrick Henry, he's going to add an element to that running game. But if the Chiefs can slow him down and make Lamar have to beat them through the air, I think that the Chiefs find a way to win this one.
Yeah, it should be a close game. The Ravens' offensive line will be tested. Of course, they lost 3 starters in the offseason, picked up some not well-known players, by the way, in return. But I guess the thing is when you have Derrick Henry, this is where the offensive line really comes into play more so than in the past. And Jacob, as you know, the Ravens have shuttled through running backs for many, many years, whether it's been Dobbins or Gus Edwards. People forget that Mark Ingram was there a couple of years ago, not that long ago. But now it feels like they have their guy. But the Ravens, generally speaking, they've been really hard to call as far as what they're going to do in play calling.
Yeah, I think the number one thing you mentioned with the offensive line, too, is having that many losses, they're going to just be kind of coming together and gelling. So Derrick Henry's a guy who can run through players a lot, but he's never had elite level burst or speed or anything. So he kind of needs his offensive line to get him that little crease that he can get through, and then he can power through players. But if he's contacted early while he's running, it's going to be harder for him to build up that speed where he can run through guys. So I'm interested to see if this line can hold up from that perspective. And obviously from a protection standpoint, Lamar Jackson has better escapability than probably any quarterback in the NFL. But if you can pressure him up the middle, that is going to be a problem for this team. And I just think that, having 2 new starting guards and a rookie starting at right tackle, that could get problematic for them quickly against a really, really solid Chiefs defense.
All right, so Friday night, we've got the Packers and Eagles, and maybe for a team that's supposed to be pretty good this season, more pressure on Philadelphia than very few teams in the NFL. Like, they have got to win and come out strong because, Jacob, they finished the season on such a down note. They are favorites in Brazil by 3 points. Now, again, if you assume that they were playing in Philadelphia in game 1, it would be probably 4.5 or 5 points, but it's a neutral site game. Total of 48.5. Feel like some points will probably come in this game because the NFL ain't going to Brazil to have a 13-10 game, I don't think. But another really tough game to call for me here. Do you have an opinion on this one?
Yeah, this one's a tough one. I think my lean is again on the favorite at 3 points. I like the Eagles here. One thing that sticks out in my mind when I'm thinking about the Packers in this matchup, I love what Jordan Love did at the end of last year. Their receiving core looks really good. Their offense just generally looks rock solid and should test that Eagles defense, which, should be better under Vic Fangio. But often we see coordinator changes, especially on defense, take about a month of play before they kind of settle down. We saw that last year with the Broncos. They allowed 70 points to the Dolphins. And then after that point, their defense under Vance Joseph was much better. But anyway, regarding this game, I think about the Packers last year when they went to London.
crazy.
At least he was able to open the water bottle. I don't know if you get that joke. You'll have to pay attention to what happened with the Gators. All right, story for another day. Let's get to the National Football League Friday night. It's going to be a big matchup. First time they're going to open up the season in Brazil, let alone a Friday night. Darius Slay is headed out there, and interestingly enough, apparently the players in the NFL have been told to stay in their hotels, as Brazil is a little bit dangerous to open up the season. This is not a good look for the NFL, and Darius Slay explains his case.
Week 1, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait, but man, I do not want to go to Brazil. You want to know why? I'm here to tell you why. They already told us not to leave the hotel. They told us we can't do too much going on because the crime rate is crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, NFL, why would y'all want to send us somewhere with the crime rate this high? And like, we out the country. So, you know, the first thing people think is like something terrible can possibly happen. I told my family, do not come down there because, hey, I'm not going to be nowhere to be found. Really, I'm going to be in a hotel chilling, minding my business, playing my game after a long 9.5-hour flight. So I don't have no intentions on doing nothing. I'm going to eat hotel food. I'm doing everything. But they said, yeah, man, it's going to be pretty crazy down there. You know, the police said they're going to be, you know, try to be the best they could possibly be with the top flight security of the world, Craig. You know what I'm saying? So we hope for that, man. But I do go down there to come down there with a win.
Not the best look. Darius Slay, a player on the team, telling his family not to come to Brazil for the game. Okay. Let's move on to Major League Baseball as we head down the stretch. The New York Yankees right now in position to take the American League East. Is it the bullpen of the Baltimore Orioles that can potentially doom them down the stretch? Let's check in with our social media correspondent, Christian DeBlock, for the latest.
Inconsistencies at the back end of the bullpen could cost the Baltimore Orioles a World Series title. The team's bullpen has an ERA above 4. Among the teams that currently occupy a playoff spot, only the Arizona Diamondbacks have a worse mark. Craig Kimbrell started the year as the team's closer, but has since been demoted to a lesser role. And Sir Anthony Dominguez got off to a good start in Baltimore, but over his last 7 appearances, he has an ERA at 6 and allowed 4 home runs. The Orioles have the lineup to go on a deep postseason run. They also have the front-end starters to do that. The only thing holding them back, a consistent, trustworthy back end of the bullpen. It may cost them in the end. Back to you, Craig.
All right, thanks very much, Christian. Naturally, one of the top bullpen arms in all of baseball, Felix Bautista, out for the season for the Orioles since the beginning of the year. Craig Kimbrell hasn't been perfect for them, and so counting on some different names are Baltimore, but we'll see what happens down the stretch. Just a few weeks left until the Major League Baseball postseason. We will take a quick time out here on NewsWire. We come back next. Matthew Waters joins us from Legal Sports Report with the NFL season set to begin. State of Ohio is clamping down on responsible gaming. How are they doing it? We will tell you next. Also, John Talty is going to join us. He's got a brand new book out about college football. Stay with us. More NewsWire next.
Incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here, warriors, and I have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City. What a night it is going to be. Historic indeed for BKC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Early on the turn.
knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish back with you. And we're joined by Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report. We'll dive into the very latest on a company that Matthew covers a lot of LSR called Camby, a new partnership in tow. We'll talk about that. Also the latest, if you've ever heard of this company, called Clutch Bet. Updates on that as well. Matt, welcome back, and hope you had a nice Labor Day. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Sure did. Thanks, Craig. Just happy that we can finally say NFL football's back. It's been too long.
It is. It is. I'm happy to say college football is back. That didn't last long for me, though. Just 1 week until my team bowed out a little bit here. Okay, so with the NFL coming back, we get all kinds of announcements, new shows, new media, new TV, new betting. I mean, this is just natural. First week of the NFL. An announcement coming over the last couple of days from the state of Ohio, where they're taking a closer look at responsible gaming in terms of making sure that people are doing the right thing, betting the proper amounts. You can tell me a little bit more as to what the state of Ohio is doing to make sure responsible gambling and betting occurs.
Yeah, you know what, Craig? This is really interesting from the state of Ohio. And I've come on here plenty of times and sung the praises of Ohio. I think they've done a great job regulating the industry for their state. And they've had a larger impact on the industry in the U.S., right? They've made a couple of changes. The free bets, not being able to say that anymore, that started in Ohio. And one other thing that Ohio's been worried about is part of responsible gambling is athlete harassment, Craig. We see this a lot on social media with the NCAA athletes. And so the responsible gambling push for Ohio this year is called More Than a Bet. And it isn't just focused on betting responsibly. Now, when you go to More Than a Bet, the website, it does include your standard, take a quiz to see if you are at risk for, gambling problems and whatnot. But they're leaning heavily on respecting athletes, Craig. And it's pretty powerful what they have on the website. They have athletes reading tweets that were sent to them saying that harm should come to them, their parents, their families, their pets, because of how they underperformed in a game and did not win a prop bet or help the team cash on a bet that these people online have made. And, you could say it's an internet problem, right? I mean, social media has given voices to plenty of people that don't deserve them. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the problem is. These athletes are still facing that backlash. They say 1 in 3 high-profile athletes receives abusive messages from someone with a betting interest, and 9 out of 10 times it's done on social media. And they say now that up to 25% of it is all based on betting. So Ohio, again, is being a leader in what they're doing to regulate sports betting. Now they're not just worried about if you're gambling correctly, but if you lose, how are you acting? They had floated around potentially banning you from all sports books in the state if you're caught doing something like this. So Ohio's taking this seriously. This is a push. The Ohio Responsible Gambling Organization is a push between the casino and sports betting regulators, the lottery regulators, and the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. So kudos to Ohio. I wish we could see more like this from all the other states, Craig. I think everybody would benefit from it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's really good to see at least one state getting out in front of it. Now, a company that you've covered a lot over at Legal Sports Report and still continue to do so is a company called Canby, technology company that's had a good little run here over the last couple of years. Rush Street Interactive, and is another, I mean, I wouldn't call them a little company, but they do have Bet Rivers, some other sports betting operators here, and a new partnership has been, I guess, achieved here. Tell us the latest over at LSR.
Yeah, so Canby and Rush Street Interactive have agreed to continue their multi-year partnership. Craig, this was one of the first deals that was signed after PASPA fell back in May 2018. I want to say they signed this, they announced it like 3 days after the Supreme Court ruled against PASPA. So this is one of the longest partnerships that we have in U.S. sports betting. And for Canby, it's interesting. Canby is a technology provider, so you go to them for whatever your sportsbook doesn't have, right? And they had bigger partnerships with DraftKings and a Barstool Sportsbook at one time, but those guys didn't renew. They went and they bought their own technology. And Bet Rivers isn't really interested in doing that. They're focused more on casino first. And you're right, Craig. It's easy to look at the market share, how it breaks out in the U.S., and call Bet Rivers a smaller company. But I think they would tell you that they are a right-sized company for what they want to do. They lead with casino, but then they also build on top of the product that they get from Canby. They have a really cool prop central that I'm in Delaware, so I bet with Bet Rivers. And it's great to have something like that to open up the app, be able to find all your props in one space. And they said that's done great for them. They saw, I think, more at like 70% more same game parlays because of that this year than the same time period last year. So it's really working out well for both of the companies. And like I said, for Canby, this is the only U.S. partnership, the biggest U.S. partnership that they've had that have renewed. And while the remaining states out there are kind of slow to legalize sports betting, we still have, 36 states and Washington, D.C. So there's still plenty of market out there as those states continue to grow and ramp up from their launch phases. And Canby wants to be, they want to be there. They want to be in the U.S. They want to be part of that. Their other bigger partnership is with Ballybet. And Craig, that is one that I would call small. And Canby was even disappointed with Ballybet when they came out of the gates, and they really weren't pushing too hard. They weren't really marketing too hard. I think Canby thought that was going to be a bigger horse for them than it has turned out to be so far, but definitely a great sponsor partnership here between Canby and Rush Street.
Yeah, I would agree, and really worth noting that some of these smaller companies are able to do a really good job and stay active on the sports betting front. The unfortunate part of this is that, let's just be honest, Matt, some of these companies don't have millions of dollars in promos and parlays to give out. And it seems to me that could be the demise of some of these smaller sports betting operators. And that's what we're going to touch on here. Clutch Bet is the first sports betting operator shutting down in the United States. And then we'll get to BetSafe, another company out of Colorado. So, I mean, Matt, it just tells you how poorly things must be going if they can't make it to the football season.
That's what really shocks you, right? It's right before the football season, and you would think this is where you make your money for the year. And Craig, they're just too small. They're too small. Now, with Clutch Bet, their parent company, Blue Bet, is from Australia. They actually just merged with another Australian betting company. So they're just taking their dollars and they're focusing on it there. And they basically said, look, the U.S. operators that are at scale right now, it's just simply too hard for the smaller operators to compete with that. And BetSafe is the same. They are operated by a company called Betson. And Betson has a ton of European sports betting knowledge. They've been doing it for years. But it just didn't work out in Colorado. There were some people on social media that I saw that didn't even know that Betson had a sports book in Colorado called BetSafe. So, these smaller companies, it's interesting to see when the smaller companies are building out their technology and they have something tangible to offer, they're getting bought up. When it's smaller companies like this and they only have their player list, a lot of those players are probably with DraftKings, FanDuel, whoever already, right? If you're signing up with a Clutch Bet or a BetSafe. So there may not be a whole lot of value in those player databases, and they just kind of fold up. And we're seeing it continue, and it's going to keep going, Craig.
Yeah, no, I think so. And again, it's just the nature of the beast with sports betting. Some companies will survive, some won't. And again, some reorganize. I think that's all fair. All right, Matt, great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on NewsWire. We'll talk again later in the week. Is that accurate?
Thanks, sir. Yes, I appreciate it.
All right, Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report. Coming up next, John Talty joins us here on the show. College football is off and running, but at what price? Well, you can purchase his book called The Price. We'll tell you about it up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Otani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Otani did this, Otani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
College football season off and running. Week 0, week 1 now in the books. Week 2 is coming. It's a new landscape for college football. We've already seen some of it. We're going to see a lot more of it. John Talty has a brand new book out, came out last week, called The Price, which dives into everything that is changing in the world of college football, just how different it looks now than it looked 10, 20 years ago. And John, of course, a great job covering sports for the Wall Street Journal, reporting, investigative reporting as well. John, thank you so much for coming on, and really appreciate all the work and the time that you put into this book. Thanks again.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So let's start off with, before we get to the book, why you chose to do this, why you chose to tackle this topic, and really good timing, obviously, with the college football season beginning as well.
Yeah, I just think college football has gone through a tremendous amount of change in the last few years, whether it was conference realignment, where your favorite team might be in a different conference this year, whether it's the college football playoff expanding, but also I think the way that NIL in particular, but also the transfer portal just has completely upended the sport. We know about it, we've heard about it, but I think we wanted to dive in deep into how is that actually impacting people at the ground level? What's it like to be a college football coach and have a kid come into your office and say, if you don't give me $100,000, I'm leaving. And that does happen, and we write about it. And so I think we want to understand, what's it like to be on both sides of that dynamic where you can cash in as a player in a way that you never have before, but as a coach, you're losing more and more control. And that's challenging for some of these guys to deal with. And I think as we write about in the book, it forced some guys out ultimately of the sport.
Yeah, and your familiarity with maybe the best coach, college coach of all time, Nick Saban. There's some people who feel like that was just the end of the line once that started. In fact, this weekend, I mean, probably because they lost, John, but Clemson now, there's a lot of discussion about Dabo Swinney and his, I don't know if inability is the word, but apparently he's one of those coaches too that doesn't really dive into the portal and paying players. But, I think that this book is going to give people a very broad view as to some of the coaches that are involved, some of the ones that are no longer involved, and just what is required to be a college football coach moving forward.
1000%. And college coaches love to say, it's adapt or die, right? You can either keep up with the times and find a way to survive, or you risk falling off. And I think Dabo Swinney is a great example of someone who had a lot of success in a previous era, winning 2 national championships, both of them over Alabama, his alma mater. And he has not evolved with the times. He has not been as all in on NIL, as famous at this point, but he has not gotten a player out of the transfer portal. And in some ways, I understand it. He won without having those things, but we're seeing that program start to erode. And I think, that game against Georgia was a great example of a program that is more modern and is embracing it without losing their overall culture. And then you've got a guy like Dabo and Clemson that are stubbornly trying to hold on to something that worked in the past that is increasingly showing is not working anymore. And so that's something that all these coaches are dealing with right now is, do I want to give into this thing or can I win a different way? And the ones who I think are willing to adapt and be creative, those are the ones that are having the most success right now.
Yeah, it's just the nature of doing it. If they choose to, some will not. We may not see that again, like Saban. The other thing we will not see again, I don't think, is the Pac-12, who, historically speaking, had so many kids in the past, John, simply playing in their conference because of the weather at USC and UCLA. I mean, it's a beautiful area to play out on the West Coast, very attractive to play at Oregon. They had Nike backing them before anybody else could back with anything. But now the Pac-12 is down to 2 teams. I know that you dove into this topic. Do you see any resolution coming to the Pac-12, or is it just simply going to be looking at teams that can't find a conference for them to play in?
Yeah, it's the latter, unfortunately. And I think it's really sad. You look at the history of the Pac-12 and all the players that have come through there and the success they've had. And even just look at this past weekend's results. USC beating LSU in a big Las Vegas game. Oregon looks incredible. Arizona has maybe the best wide receiver in the country. All of these teams that should still be in the Pac-12 are all gone because of really greed and the influence of TV money pushing different, conferences to do different things, which ultimately ripped apart the Pac-12. So there's something that's bittersweet seeing those schools succeed the way they have, knowing that, they could all still be in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is it's on its last breath, really. I mean, there's 2 teams left. They're going to have to either, join another conference, try to find some sort of way to assimilate elsewhere. I think they're hoping that they'll get a life raft from somebody else, but it hasn't happened yet. And unfortunately for both of those programs, they're not in attractive TV markets. They don't have the biggest fan bases, and they're not going to be the most attractive to these other Power 4 conferences. So they're in a really challenging spot, and they're probably 2 of the biggest losers of this current era, not for any fault of their own, but just the way that the world works now.
Yeah, it's I just can't believe that those games not played on the West Coast anymore, playing in the Big Ten. It's sort of crazy. We're really going to start getting used to that when conference play begins in a few weeks. Okay, so let's end here, John, with the your book and John's book. The price is out right now. You can purchase it over on Amazon or wherever you buy books, certainly. Let me get your opinion on this. In doing a lot of study for the book and investigative reporting, which coaches right now have it down with the NIL, with being able to just say to themselves, hey, loyalty is done. We got to pay the players. We got to get them to transfer. Who are the coaches of the future as opposed to the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kirby Smart is the guy who's inheriting the Nick Saban throne. We've seen him already have success. He's, of course, won 2 of the last 3 national championships. But I think he's done the best of blending Saban's process that works so well with the new world of, we might not be the number 1 spenders, but we're going to be competitive. And ultimately, we're selling you on a chance to win a national championship and also an opportunity to make a lot of money in the NFL moving forward. So I think he's done an amazing job. And then you mentioned earlier, but Oregon has been very competitive. It's a tough place in some ways to recruit. There's not a lot of natural talent in that state, but they've been very aggressive. It helps to have Phil Knight bankrolling it. But Dan Lanning, a disciple of Kirby Smart, again, he's going to build a strong culture that's not going to be eroded by the money, but they're going to be competitive. And they've built a great team for this upcoming season based on getting guys out of the portal and developing recruits and all these different things that you need. So I like what Kirby's done. I like what Dan's done at Oregon. And, Ohio State's probably the school that's the most all in this year in terms of total money spent. And some of that's out of desperation, but, they're well positioned for the future based on what they've done so far.
The name of the book is The Price. You can purchase it now to learn a lot more as to the landscape of college football moving forward. John, great to meet you. Thanks for coming on NewsWire. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Otani, right? People will sort of see, Otani did this, Otani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Before we go, we touch on some hot topics to end the show, a little golf, maybe some NFL football, sort of, and a story that hits home for me. Time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, let's begin with Scotty Scheffler, but not so much Scotty. We begin with his caddy. That's a good living, right? That's a really good living to be a caddy. Ted Scott is the name of Scotty Scheffler's caddy. He has been with Scotty, I believe, for a long period of time, maybe even since the beginning. With all of the money that Scotty Scheffler has earned in 2024, would you believe that his caddy, who has not swung a club or has not played golf the entire season, will make $5 million with all of the winnings that Scotty Scheffler has made? Now, I am not demeaning caddies, absolutely, not at all, whatsoever. I think they provide a huge service, but that is a great job. I had to look into that. $5 million just simply to be a consultant, give a lot of advice. I guess it's kind of like being a coach, right? Is that fair to say? Like being a side coach, although I don't know that they work on swings or anything like that, but congrats. Hey, Scotty Scheffler had a great year. Ted Scott is going to make $5 million for carrying the bag this year. So he carried the bag and he got the bag. That's fair to say. All right, the Cincinnati Bengals, they don't ever want to give out the bag. Jamar Chase still doesn't have a contract. They voted no on that new PIF deal to give out money or to get money from investment companies. The Brown family just do things a different way. Speaking of which, here's the latest way that they're doing things. They're installing all new televisions at their stadium, and also what they're doing is offering you the chance to buy their old flat screen TVs. This is not a joke. Cincinnati Bengals have put their old TVs on the market for like $60. You can get one of their TVs that has probably been used and used and used and used, and just for a couple $100, you could go get a brand new one. Why would anybody want to do this? To say that they bought a TV from the Bengals? I don't get this one at all. Now, the prices are very cheap, but folks, when you're buying used TVs, and I don't have a lot of experience buying used TVs, by the way, I usually buy them new, because again, the usage of the TVs, eventually they end. They're not as bright, they don't work as good. So why just to say that you bought something from the Bengals? I don't get this one at all. But the prices I don't know if you could see it there, but the prices are super cheap, like $60 to get yourself a 50-inch TV or something like that. So go ahead and have it out. All right, what a great weekend it was for me this weekend. Very, very busy. As you can see, there's a pitcher on the mound there. I know it's kind of hard to see a little bit there, but that is my son. His name is Hayes Mish. My son this weekend had his first ever no-hit appearance in a perfect game tournament, and I felt like for the first time ever we would talk about it here on SportsGrid. I've been here for 4 years, never mentioned it once. I'm doing it today. Got to do it, guys. Sorry. 5 innings pitched, no hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, as his team ended up winning this weekend by a final of 7-1. Although the most of the tournament got rained out, definitely wanted to bring that to the show. When you're a proud dad, what do you say, right? You got to have it here on the show. So we did it today on the show. Thanks to Frank and our production department for putting that together. No hit appearance in travel baseball. It's very rare. By the way, that video, I wish we had it. That video is that batter hitting it right back to him, like really hot off the bat, and him catching it. It was the hardest hit ball all day. All right, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks so much for tuning into this edition of NewsWire. Also want to thank John Talty for coming on the show, talking a little bit about his book, The Price. Also, thanks to, of course, Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report. And also thank you to Jacob Camenker. Jacob, by the way, is going to get a new job. He's got a new job, so he's leaving Sporting News. Jacob has been great to us. He's come on with us for years. I didn't have a chance to say goodbye to him today. Jacob, all the best to you. Wish you all the best. Also want to thank our associate producer, Luke, and our producer, Frankie B. Let me give you our schedule for what's coming up next here on NewsWire the rest of the day. We've got Kaplan and Crew, 1 p.m. Eastern, so stay tuned to that. Pharrell Coast to Coast, 3 o'clock Eastern, getting you ready for all of the action tonight in Major League Baseball and the WNBA. Also, we've got Game Time Decisions at 6, in-game live prime time, and then Sports Rage tonight with Gabe. Is Gabe back tonight? I know he was off. He was in Las Vegas. I believe Gabe is back. We don't know. Okay, 10 p.m. Eastern, Sports Rage. The show rolls on. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning for our next edition of NewsWire as we get closer to opening night in the National Football League, which, of course, is this Thursday night between the Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday wherever you're watching. Thanks for watching our show here on SportsGrid. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, for our next edition of the show. Can't wait to see you then as we cover it all for you. College football, pro football, sports betting, and everything else on our landscape. So we will see you soon. Make sure you stay tuned to our next program, which is Kaplan and Crew, coming up at 1.